All right, hello. This is going to be my SGDQ submission for Sworn. I'm going to commentate over my current P. It's definitely not near number one, but this is an early access game, very similar to Hades, but definitely unique in its own way. And they actually just recently added a new area after the final boss, so I could either do an incentive for that or just because it's not a super long run. Um, about 20 to 30, well, like 30 to 40 minutes, depending on RNG. Really, all depends on getting the build together. Um, but yeah, let's get started. So, start the run by you can grab 3 extra rerolls to start your run. Essentially, there are gods. Fae is what they're called in this, and they're going to give us abilities and we need a specific god combo in order to get a lot of damage. We definitely need guaranteed at least one. But if you can get this 2 gods together and get this bone combo, there's one babbed. We need to have both of them in the pool. There's the one we need is Gog Magog. He basically just gives you the stagger element, and it's just flat damage for a spell. If you had noticed, the spell is kind of just straight piercing. And if you line them up, you can kill the really well because it through. It also does insane damage, especially when we put the GOG modifier on it. Another thing, how this game works is we use the in-game timer, which every time we clear a room, it stops while we are like picking upgrades and stuff. Kind of nice. Um, Another thing we are using, which I need to get better at, which I've gotten some tips from Top Runner on what I can do better. But the heavy attack, we're using a staff. The heavy attack with the staff gives us. There's a blue circle you can see below the screen. It gives us mana regen. So that's very good. I just took so now we got our second one, Babbed and Gog. So now that we have one of each of those, and it's the correct two, well, it does some of them. The duo boon can show up next. We have a bunch of rerolls for it. Another huge blessing, Bera, the Ice Lady, gives us mana specific stuff. You can get spell damage. We really want Spell Thief, which gives us every time we do an attack, it gives us mana back. So we're really, a spell build. You've played Hades, you could probably understand. There's a light attack, a heavy attack, and dash ability. There we go. We got Spell Thief. So a lot of times when you reroll, you can get to the better. They don't usually on right away. Yeah, this game's got a lot of it. So they recently added this NPC Lancelot, and basically we have to do 3 things for him to get 3 gems that will allow us to then unlock the final area and fight Morgana. But probably should have done this in the second area because I was slow. Dying really doesn't matter that much in the first area, or really until you get to the later areas if you sketchy. But we actually want to be on low health because if you get the Titania, the Fire Lady, has an ability that will give us um more damage if we're on low. And it's actually a lot. And it's just on everything, which everything includes our spell. So here's the first big mini boss, and as you can see, I mean we're on the easiest difficulty, normal mode. But we're already starting to. So similar to Hades with the hammers, they have anvils in this game, which give us like a modifier to either a spell, a light attack, or a heavy attack, or some other miscellaneous. But we're looking for a very specific one on our spell. Our spell gains a permanent damage bonus every time we kill something with it, which, as you can see, our spell is what we are. More damage over time, we will really start doing damage in the areas. which is really necessary because if you get a bad run, especially in the third area, you just don't have the damage. You can't do it fast, and it's a really slow run. That's very good because we get babbed, and it's a mini boss, so we're most likely going to get Bone Collector, which is the duo boon we are looking for. Take out that enemy. Going. Then roll for it. Get it. Since I haven't used any rolls, I kind of like, you know what? We got to get it. There it is. Bone Collector. It's a boon. Um, there's also specific rooms on each floor that have like a question mark over them that have an event. We specifically skip those because they are slow. One of them is really bad where it's like survive for 45 seconds. So you lose 45. Play these rooms. So what's nice about this build, especially getting Bone Collector early, and we had enough, got that correct spell anvil upgrade. We will every time we get a kill with our spell, we're stacking damage. Bone Collector, I forgot to. Bone Collector, basically, every time we get a kill, we get like 1% damage up. And then same thing with our anvil on our spell. So we're stacking damage. Another huge thing is when you're going through the run, we always take the shop. The shop has no enemies, and because the timer only really goes during combat, the taking a shop is literally just. So this boss is kind of like we want to just cycle our mana regen with our heavy, and then shoot a spell. Another effect of Gog Magog's on our spell is not only is it doing a ton of damage, but it does build up stagger. As you can see, once it's full, he just froze it in place, and we can just keep wailing on him, and it's just very powerful status effect. Stagger is very good. Again, the main reason we're doing is for the damage. But it's just a nice little. So here is another gem. In between the phases, we can sacrifice 45 red gem. We'll have to do if we're gonna go. There's like a passive upgrade in the in like the game as you play, like you unlock it as buff that if you pick up those purple crystals, they will actually give you some HP. Like I said, if we ever get titanium, oh, those little secret shops, there is an item that we can get that makes enemies drop more gold. That's like the only one that there is another Fae that we haven't seen yet that we can fish for, which he has an ability if we roll correctly. Look at that, we get Dying Spark is there. So is Eruption. They're both really but yeah, with Lug, he's like the luck critical hit character god Fae, and he has an ability called Greed, which every 50 gold we carry gives us a damage up. So, so here's an awesome stroke of luck too. They're just random, but we can go down here. Excuse me. Really? Unfortunately, they cost time and they don't actually like get us a floor complete. But they will give us an insane damage. Give us so 60% spell is damage. Very, very good. If that rolls like uncommon or rare. But just even getting this you never want to take the question mark ones like I just said in my because again, those are very slow, like challenge, much slower than the normal. As you can see, getting better. And as you can see, our damage is really starting to cook 1,000. Unfortunately, bad runs, but we don't have any rerolls left. Kind of the nature of the game. The definite, you definitely need skill for this, but then you're also just fishing for really good RNG in these runs. In my opinion, this mini boss, each floor has like a mini boss, and no, I'm not just shooting him with a spell. Slow. But that mini boss I'd say is harder than the even well speedrun wise. I'm not hurt. There we go, hitting 1,000 though. There are many ways to get increases in damage, which obviously what we're trying to do. Because especially with the later bosses, now the build is cooking. Sometimes, like if your damage is only like 400 at this point, it can go rough. So there's two things that affects an ability, like a blessing from a Fae. It's rarity, and then it's level. So like a common will give us like say 60% in that underground. Got rare, it would 65 or 70, up from there. And then you can use the trumpets you get to upgrade them further. I don't our spell we usually just put the trumpets on the spell. Usually going from level 1 to level 2 pretty significant. Are getting worse. So here we go for Lug. Here's the luck guy we're trying to get greed, but we have no reason that. Again, if we go into the shop, if you look in the upper right, the timer isn't even going, so we have to save money because the last gem that's going to go into the thing in the is the first shop in each. Gotta save up. But even if we had greed, we'd still lose. This is still a very good build. So see, he just immediately gets stunned. Just about that. Decent fight. Could be better. I've learned some tech from the record holder who's been super grinding this game on what I can do better there. We actually don't want to heal here because we do have dying. Having lower health means more damage. So in the third area, we're going to get our second anvil, and we are hoping to get Ricochet, but unfortunately we don't have a reroll, so it's hope and pray. These rooms can be... Oh, we got it actually. Yeah, Ricochet. Perfect. So if it's a money one, could be worth it, but instead we will... Just in case we agreed. Oh, we also need to save for the... See, sometimes you could also just get really lucky. Like that room just had 2 enemies. Like, nice. It's just over already. But as long as everything goes good, our bone collector keeps us doing well with the damage. There's the last gem for the ring. Now we will access the final area once we... Arthur, the final boss. The original final boss. But yeah, as long as our damage is kind of scaling well, it's really about aiming your shots being better. Like just trying to do the rooms as fast as possible, because once you kill the last enemy, timer stops. Doesn't matter how close to the door you are or anything like that. Damage doesn't... Sometimes you can just get unlucky with the spawns. Like we have our spell now ricochets between enemies, right? But unfortunately, there's a lot of boxes in terrain that can get away. But yeah, our damage is cooking, so that mini boss got obliterated. If only we get like there's just a lot of things that can give you damage. It's a combination of getting good spawns, not wasting your mana and spells, and just being optimal skills. And it's also luck. There's like a bunch of different ways. Just the main super ones are the first anvil with the spell, especially if you're playing solo, and then the bone collector. They really start to give you damage up. There's a good spell ricochet. Nothing special there. There is some nice stuff there. Like you can take and get a mana to charge for like X amount of. But we're always still kind of fishing for Lug and Greed, so we really don't want to spend money. Need to get better at using heavy attack to start the mana. Got Lug over here, so even though that's a mini boss and his Lug having Greed is just a much better. Definitely have the damage though, but don't necessarily have the mana reach. And that's actually a mistake I just made. So certain items will give you certain um unlocks the next time you see the god or the fae. And that one was actually bad on Lug because it adds more to the pool for greed to not show up. Makes it much luckier to get. You never really want it on your heavier light. The only thing you really take Lug on is your ultimate because it doesn't really add anything. But that was the third boss. As long as our run is cooking, very simple boss. And we don't want the health because dying spark. This area is very interesting. So now we're in like the original final area of the game. The timer actually goes for halfway through that hallway, so you want to keep going fast. And then the timer actually starts right when you get in this room, so you want to select the first item. And then once we take out these knights, we can upgrade. Damage is fine, so getting more mana for the final boss. So here the timer is stopped. But if we click one of these, it will immediately start the next wave. We can actually just sit here and wait for our mana to regen. And anyone who's been running this game, which isn't too many people yet, but we're getting. Yeah, you sit here and just get your mana. Click it. It starts. I don't want to line them up, although we have fine. So Babbed, the main purpose of Babbed is literally just Bone Collector. That like the getting him on your light is fine because it's decent early game. But the main reason is Bone Collector. So you take Oberon there because he has a random way to get more damage. We just picked up what Encroaching Storm, and I get more damage for enemies close to me. Now we're gonna take Eruption, also very good, very fun ability too. You can do whole builds around this ability. But if you take damage, you like explode and do damage near enemies, and it's it can stack and get really high damage. So we got through the round table. Knights don't hit. I don't know why I bought that. That was actually probably a purchase because we are gonna do Morgana's. We're gonna go to because we got the 3 gems. Once we kill Arthur, we will go to the next area. And honestly, very cool boss design. Like I really like this boss. But we have kind of hit all the RNG for the build. So he's kind of going down pretty fast. Phase 1. Yeah, like casually, this guy's pretty tough. We just have so much spell thief and damage that he just gets stunned once and basically. So just like that, Arthur goes down. Ah, can't really go about that. But then normally the Grail like explodes and we fly backwards because we have the ring. We go into the Grail and try to stop the corruption. Oh yeah, I forget the timer actually moves. Still kind of learning the run. I just needed to get a run complete so I could submit. I'm sure like there'll be big updates in the next couple of months, or at least some updates, some stuff. They do want it to somewhat be a speed run game, the devs say, so they have a whole section of the Discord and everyone chatting about it. Very cool. So here's yeah, this is the newest area. Trail. These enemies are really cool, in my opinion. They actually are a lot of health, but our build is absurd. We are one shotting pretty much everything. And because of the ricochet ability, you only really have to hit like one. dead, dead, dead. That one survived, but they hit me, so they exploded. The eruption is so good. It's actually crazy how much damage it can. All right, so we're carrying through these. Very fast room right there. So once we get Ricochet, there is another spell ability that we can get, which will do even more damage, but it's not really necessary because at this point, you either have it or you don't. The run, you're going for a top time. So you possible. It's hiding. This I will say this floor does kind of mess with my color. Because I already got Encroaching Storm, I figured whatever. Like, kind of bad RNG. We really wanted Gog Magog. He has some really good spells. Also, the names of the Fae are hilarious. Yeah, Gog Magog just sounds silly. That's actually the only one. Very, very bad shooting. That was a bad room. User error, though. All right, so we never got greed, so we can actually spend money here. So we'll definitely take Isolate. And we actually just took spell damage because we have a lot of mana damage. Actually, take a eruption. Oh, but I took. It's also a good idea, but I feel like eruption. Well, actually, no. I was being a little safe just to make sure I got the run done. That's right, because I'm a little low HP and I only have one revive left. So that's the case. She's really not that difficult. In fact, I actually think Arthur might be a little more difficult than her, depending on how you are. She always teleports right away, and I keep always forget. So, but as you can see, our damage absurd. But I want to hit her with my charged, my heavy attack, so I can get it. Yeah, and I should have shot the spells faster. There's a lot of improvements to be made, but this is just the current PB. So there she is. There's Morgana. They're actually having an art contest for her since she came out. Well, hope I do okay. But yeah, that was Sworn solo run, Squire difficulty, like normal or yeah, super cool game. The big allure that this game has to me, because I played a lot of Hades on, a very fun game, and the game has very similar vibes to it. But it has not just co-op, but all the way up to 4 players. So 4-player co-op, very cool. So yeah, early access. Looking forward to what else the game. Or they say they're gonna add more weapons, more Fae, I believe. So looking forward to the future of this game and the speed run. It's pretty fun speed run. The random luck of it kind of stinks, but there's actually a file that if you want you can upload, and then you have like infinite resources, all the rerolls every time, and yeah. But that is and my commentary for this. So I hope you guys hope to see you at GDQ.